Now that July's over with and the dust has settled, let's all moan about it. Hello, welcome to July Moan. I'm Terry A. Abbott. Well, it's been one of those months where the government have put their foot in enough times, so let's go see what happened at the very beginning with Robert Jenrick. Now, Robert Jenrick is the immigration minister. He's part of the Home Office. He's a bit of a scumbag. We have asylum centres for kids. You know, refugees coming over and they claim asylum, and the children. Now, to make these places less intimidating for the kids, they drew murals on the wall, you know, nice things like cartoon characters and, you know, Mickey Mouse and Tom and Jerry, things like that, to make them less intimidating. Because, you know, a lot of these kids are traumatized, they've been through hell to get here, and they wanted to make somewhere that was more inviting. But no, not according to Robert Jenrick. No, we don't want them to be inviting, we want them to be austere places. So he ordered all the murals to be painted over. Didn't go down too well for him. He was basically wretched as being a bit of a scumbag over it. And a lot of places have said that they're going to have the murals redrawn. Oh, wonder. Meanwhile, the Privileges Committee asked for several MPs to be censured for what they'd been commenting about when it came to the Boris Johnson committee hearings. Several of these scumbags really stepped over the line when it came to criticising what the Privileges Committee were doing. So we're looking at what? Mad Nads, the Dean Doris, the Haunted Pencil, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Michael Fabricant, the man with the hair, Priti Patel, who's now a dame, and also Angela Jenkins, who has also been made a dame. By the way, they were all made dames by Boris Johnson. They were the Boris Johnson fan club, of course. Mark Jenkinson, Brendan Clark-Smith was also there in that nice picture of the Scurvy Seven. Yes, the 7 MPs, they were censured by the House of Commons, and they didn't get off at all. They just got basically told that they were a bunch of absolute losers. Meanwhile, also criticised was Lord Zach Goldsmith, who was a member of the cabinet at that point, but he resigned. He said it was about environmental issues. Now, probably if you're looking at what's going on later on, he might have sort of a point, but his main thing at that point was resigning because of, well, you know, what the government were basically being, they were being criticised, and he was being singled out by this committee, as did Lord Cruddas and Lord Greenhalgh. They're all members, by the way, of the Conservative Democratic Organisation, or as it's better known, the Bojo Fan Club. So, yeah, they got censured and told off for all the crap they were putting out in the place. The thing is that when they came to voting, one person didn't turn up. Rishi Sunak. He wasn't there. Where was he hiding? We don't know. Maybe under his desk. But again, Rishi was doing his usual impression of a chicken. Meanwhile, Mad Nads is still looking for her peerage. I'm sorry, Nadine, you ain't gonna find it. And you believed Boris Johnson. I mean, how insane can you be to believe that man? But I suppose when you're looking at him like that, maybe you'd believe anything he says. Oh dear. This woman is daft. Anyway, it's been 50 odd days since she said she was going to resign immediately. And she hasn't resigned. So we're still waiting for Mad Nads to resign. It may be that she's waiting until the conference season hit them where it hurts. because that's all she's got left. So, next, by-elections. Yes, the big event of the month was the by-elections. The ones in Somerton and Frome, as you see there, Selby and Ainsty, and Uxbridge and South Ruislip. Now, what happened? Well, it was 1-1 for the main parties. So let's go to the first one. Somerton and Frome. The Liberal Democrats overturned a, what was it, 19,213 majority. Now, this was the seat that was vacated by David Warburton. We talked about him last month, for the last moan. He resigned over certain reasons, which, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll, etc. So, yeah, he resigned his seat, and this by-election was fought. And the Liberal Democrats, absolutely stonking win. They got over 10,000 majority themselves, overturning, I say, a 19,213 majority that the Conservatives held beforehand. Huge swing to the Liberal Democrats. Notice the Labour vote collapse, and this is tactical voting. It's not saying, oh, Labour's not doing well. This is tactical voting in operation here. You can see that Labour voters handed their votes to the Liberal Democrats to get rid of the Conservatives. This is what we like to see. We wish the Green Party would do some of it, but they've got nothing to actually gain, have they, from this? The Liberal Democrats have, and this was where they gained. Labour gave them the vote. So it was a damn good win, and the Liberal Democrats were pretty happy with it. Meanwhile, in Selby and Ainsty, it was a stonking win for Labour. Now, this is a big one, and this is one that really scares the crap out of the Conservatives more than anything else. This seat was the one that Nigel Adams was in. This is the guy who resigned with Boris Johnson. Again, probably looking for his bloody peerage, but whatever. Real Boris Johnson fan. 20,137 was his majority. This seat should never, ever go anywhere near Labour, yet Labour's won it with over 4,000 majority. Keir Mather, 25 years old, very, very young, wins the seat. Excellent job. He did a fantastic job. Well done to the young lad, knocking out the Conservatives and giving a massive, massive swing to Labour on that seat. And that's one of the biggest swings for years. I think it's one of the longest swings ever to Labour. Very, very well done. And bodes well for the general election if we are actually threatening in seats which are predominantly rural areas. Let's see how it goes in the general election. I mean, remember, it is hard to gauge by-elections in some ways because you can put more in and you can target a by-election more than you can in the general election. And in the general election, a lot of the voters who maybe stayed at home during this election as a protest go back and vote, and a lot of them go, oh, vote Conservative anyway, even though they don't believe in what the bloody Conservatives are doing. And tell you the truth, if you don't believe in what they're doing, don't bloody vote for them. Please, work it out. They're not much good. Of course, the one that the Tories were all crowing about, and the one that seemed to get all over the news, was the Uxbridge and South Ruislip by-election, which was actually won by the Conservatives. Massively reduced majority, mind you, a majority of over 7,000 that Boris Johnson had, because this was Boris Johnson's old seat, was reduced to 495. It's, yeah, I mean, was it Steve Tuckwell? He won it, did well. Good man him due. He managed to win the seat. Although, I mean, it was fought mainly on ULEZ, a local issue, rather than on a national issue. They made it the ULEZ by-election. ULEZ is the ultra-low emission zone, which is being set up in London. Now, there's a lot of people against it. It's Sadiq Khan's getting it in the neck. Now, Sadiq Khan does believe in the emission zone. However, will you please be aware when you're voting Conservative that it was Boris Johnson who actually came up with the ULEZ scheme first, and that it was the Conservative government who were fully in favour of the expansion of ULEZ. In fact, the Grant Shapps actually put it down as a prerequisite to giving extra funding to TfL, Transport for London, after the COVID crisis. And basically, because TfLs were in serious financial problems after COVID, and to help bail them out, basically, the government said, well, yeah, if you want that, you're going to have to expand ULEZ. So, yeah, it was actually, you know, part of the government's plans. So please, you know, don't go around shouting, ow, ow, yeah, Sadiq Khan, oh, Labour did this, oh, and then forget that the bloody Tories were actually the ones who put it forward first. Yeah, great idea. So they basically lied their ass off to the Tories a lot of places, because they had people with like bloody Teslas thinking they were going to be paying emissions charge. You got a Tesla, you dozy sod. It's a fucking electric car. You don't pay anything. Whoa. But, you know, hey ho, that's the way it goes. I think a lot of people are going to find out they've been had when it comes to August, because in August the ULEZ scheme expands, and they'll probably find that the car's perfectly eligible and passes. I mean, Labour missed the plot on, one, taking out the letter that Grant Shapps sent out, and secondly, just take a bloody mobile phone with the app from the government on board, go up to a car, if you see it there, type in the registration number, and if it's compliant, you're talking to the owner, the householder, and they say, oh, ULEZ is going to cost me blah, 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 blah. You just tell them, I've just checked your car, it's compliant. You ain't going to pay a penny. But no, Labour got itself into a tiz, and it did go and have a bit of a meltdown after the this election result. Even though, as I say, it wasn't the best win for the Conservatives, but it was a win nevertheless, and it shouldn't have been. As I say, we'll see what happens in the next election when ULEZ is no longer an issue, and I don't know, they probably end up losing. So finally, we come to climate change and what's going on in the world, and the government rolling back on net zero. You see, after ULEZ won them the Uxbridge election, Rishi Sunak has sort of like doubled down on this sort of stuff. He's now pro-car. Everything has to be for the car. So he's got, you know, he's wanting to cut back on 20-mile-an-hour zones in residential areas. What, you want to kill kids again? Is this what you're talking about? 20-mile-an-hour zones save lives. They save kids' lives. You know, there's an advert years ago where you got this kid lying there dead in the road and saying if 40 mile an hour, I've got like 80% chance I'm going to die, and at the less than 30 I got 80% chance of surviving, or something like that. You know, the whole point of the residential zones going down to 20 mile an hour is to save lives. And actually, it's nothing to do really with climate change, because you actually use more fuel, actually. But it is simply a case of making damn sure that cars don't go screaming down roads and running kids over at high speed. I've seen what happens to kids when they get run over at high speed. I've seen my friend who got nearly killed by a car on a, well, it's not a side road. It was a sort of, it's not a major road. It's a sort of, it ends up as a rat run, actually. Yeah, he got hit on there and nearly died. There's a couple of kids been hit on that road and nearly killed off. I mean, that road needs a speed limit putting on it, lower speed limit, because it's got that massive park now next to it. And kids do run out into the road. So you've got a car driver giving it death down there, and the kid runs out, dead. That'd be no bloody good, would it? Also, hey ho, we want, come on, guys, we want to have all these new oil and gas licenses in the North Sea. Rishi Sunak came out with a bullshit that it'll actually help with bills. No, it won't. It won't help at all. And you got told already, Greg Hans said that last year, that we don't produce enough to actually affect the bills. And we pay the market rate. We don't own the oil and gas that's coming out of the North Sea. It's owned by private companies. It's sold on the open market. So we still have to basically export gas in. And it costs us money. So, again, he's talking absolute bollocks. Another thing, going back to these with car drivers, he wants to get rid of low traffic areas as well. These were being brought in. Again, another safety issue in certain roads where they didn't want it to become a rat run, because it was. It was a rat run where the cars would go zipping down it. They wanted to make it safe for the kids to go out and play. Rishi Sunak doesn't want that. He wants to kill your fucking kids. That's his whole bloody point. Rishi Sunak is an absolute bloody idiot. The world is on fire. I don't know if you've noticed recently. We've been lucky up here in Britain because we've been on the north side of the jet stream. The jet stream has acted like a shield for us. It's not particularly pleasant. It's been raining like bloody hell, and it would be nice if we had a few days of sunshine. It would, you know, be a bit. I could cut my edge for a start off. It looks like a thing that racehorses jump over. But the simple fact is, July, 10 days of July, the middle of July, were the hottest days on record. Each day broke the record set by the previous day. 10 hottest days on record ever in the world. We have had fires in Portugal, in Italy, in Greece, on the Greek islands, in flipping Croatia. All across the Mediterranean has had baking temperatures. China recorded 52 degrees centigrade. That's the hottest temperature they've ever recorded there. Death Valley broke its record for the hottest temperature of all time. America's been baking in absolutely unbelievable heat as well. And of course you've got California's on fire near off all the time. The world is heating up. It is man-made climate change which is causing it. We have polluted the atmosphere with plenty of carbon dioxide, and there is too much of it. It's a greenhouse gas. It is holding the blinking temperatures in, and the planet's getting hotter. The sea levels are rising. There's going to be more flooding, more famine, more droughts. Europe is in drought, by the way. Europe has got severe problems with water. Believe it or not. We're lucky up here. This is a wet place. It rains all the bloody time. Yeah, I think you've heard of Manchester being known as a wet place. We're just a bit north of Manchester, and I tell you, it's a wet place. Yeah, it's nice and green here, but God, it does rain a lot. And all will happen is this extremes of weather will get worse. We'll have extreme heat, extreme rain. We get more rain than we used to. When it rains, it really fucking rains at the present moment. And then that's another part of climate change. The UK, areas like ours, just going to get milder and wetter. I'm not looking forward to that. I like, winter. I like it to be cold. I love cold winters. I love snow. Hey, the picture down here. I mean, the part of the picture, this section down here, that bit there, is actually from the park down the road. That's where this image, that image comes from. It's the park just down here. During a very snowy year, We don't normally get them. It's pretty rare actually around here. We don't get that much snow. Well, you know, here I am with this backdrop of snow and ice and everything. But the actual truth be told, we're actually more often than not just raining. But when it does snow, we get a decent snowfall. That was from that particular year we had the snow. But this is going to become a thing of the past. We've been told that maybe in the next 50 years, snow in the UK will become a memory. Maybe all the north of Scotland will get it. But south? No chance. Mild and wetter. That's horrible. Well, maybe I probably won't be around to see it. I'm not bothered. But I am for my kids. If they have any kids themselves, you know, for future generations. Don't know who's I worry about, because we're leaving them a planet which is absolutely been devastated, and it's not a good thing. And if we don't actually act, well, could look the extinction of the human race itself. Maybe the Great Barrier is climate change, and that the reason you don't find advanced civilizations in space is they've already killed themselves off with environmental problems on their own planet. Never know, because if the food chain collapses, it would be devastating. Okay, that's it for me. Another moan over with. Green screen's acting up as usual, but what the hell, I don't know. Sometimes it works perfectly, and sometimes it gives me absolute grief, and today it's just decided, you know, I'm going to give you absolute bloody grief. I think it's the way that the light shines in at the back, and it just doesn't work well with the lighting in the room. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Anyway, if you like what I do, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. And I will be back soon with another video. Until then, as always, stay safe. Bye-bye.